You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, Jose Mataro and Matt Gannon. Well, really, guys, I shouldn't say as always. I've been out the last couple of weeks dealing with all this hurricane madness, getting new cars. It's been crazy, but I am back. I'm super excited to be with you guys once again, talking about hockey. We're in a full swing. Welcome everybody in here to our live viewing. Really appreciate you guys jumping in. We got an action-packed episode for you guys today, talking about all the games, some of the news that's come out recently. It should be a really fun episode. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. You've had some hurricane stuff, sure, but you've had some other exciting things going on for you. Where have you watched the past couple of games there, buddy?
I have. So the Bolt Report officially is a credentialed member of the media. So been super, super excited getting to watch those games for the press box and talking to all the media people, going down, asking players questions. It's been a real honor and a real blast to be up there doing that. So
that's cool as hell, man.
It's been great. I'll throw some more insight, hopefully, if I can, but looking forward to the rest of the season. We continue to do that.
It's got to be pretty cool sitting next to Connor Sherry and Darren Radish up there.
Wow, Matt, that's a low. Actually, Connor Sherry, he's in Syracuse, to be fair. So actually, Darren Radish, I did see him. in the locker room in a suit. I have not seen him up in the press box. I don't know where those players hang out when they're not up there, but I have not seen him up there. So.
I heard a rumor that you saw another favorite player, favorite of Matt's at least.
I did. I made Matt really jealous when I said it in the chat. I saw the one and only Zach Bogosian hanging around down in the Lightning, near the Lightning.
Was that also in the locker room? Oh, okay.
That was right outside the locker room, actually. They got like I don't even know. They got like a little ice rink there for the kids of players, I'm assuming it is, basically, and the coaches and whatnot. So he was down near there. I was told, I don't know if this is true, but Bogosian's kid was in a diaper playing goaltender while the kids were playing. So, I mean, it kind of just makes sense. There's, of course, this Bogosian's kid out there doing that. But, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really cool. I met Kevin Weeks from the game in Nashville. So, really, really, really cool stuff.
That's really cool, awesome. Jake. We're all very proud of you here. And Michael, he's a big part of the Bolt Report as well. So congratulations to the both of you.
Well, much appreciated. And with that said, let's get into it because we do have a lot to talk about. Welcome everybody in here. Don't forget, if you're with us live, don't feel afraid to drop your questions or comments down below. You can follow us at RBLR Lightning or at RBLR Sports so you don't miss out when these do go live. Really appreciate everybody joining in here. If you're already coming back, by the way, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. And why not? You're already coming back anyway. So first thing I want to talk about, guys, is kind of you hit on this while I was away, and it's the news of Bally Sports transitioning to the FanDuel Sports Network. And, when it first came out, we kind of didn't know what it was going to look like, any of the real details. It's now been a little over a week since that transition has happened. So I wanted to kind of quickly re-hit on that. The way I describe it is basically think of it as the Scooby-Doo when they've got the bad guy and they're like, all right, let's see who's really under this mask. And they pull it off. FanDuel Sports Network is the bad guy, and you pull off the mask and it's just Bally Sports.
And they would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you darn kids.
Exactly. To me, this is kind of a worst case scenario. FanDuel buying out Bally, keeping them alive. Bally just isn't it. RSNs just aren't it. Unfortunately, it seems like it's continued. I've already heard about, again, there's issues with, I think it was Xfinity this time around. People not be able to watch a basketball game on the FanDuel Sports Network. So more of the problems continue, which is unfortunate.
I'm sure there's going to be some things that they have to iron out as they, change the apps and they change the branding and how they are doing business with it as well. But I will say that at least from my standpoint, running it on a Samsung TV, it didn't crash halfway through the game, which was nice because usually, sometime during the second intermission, the app goes down. But the
Step in the
one thing
right
I wish,
direction.
just a step, but one of the games, I can't remember which one it was, I had to start it late. So I wanted to go back and rewatch some of it. They still have the really annoying scroll, like in order to get to the timestamp that you want, you still have to press the forward button like 1,000 times if you're using your TV, and that's that's tough still.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with it too. I thought it was going to be like a bit more of a rebrand instead of just changing it to blue and changing the name. I was still dealing with some of the same issues. It's literally just blue. Still dealing with some of the same issues that I dealt with Bally, but I guess that's to be expected when all you change is the color and the name, which I guess it kept things simple. I guess I didn't have to switch any apps, make a whole new login or everything. So I guess I can give them credit with just keeping everything the exact same, at least in simplifying everything. But again, a little let down, but hopefully they do iron things out. I won't expect anything though.
I will fill out a 10-page document if they want me to switch. Is that what it takes to move on to something else and something better? Listen, it's just been disappointing, and that's it is. Joe, I still had that same problem that I know you complained about in the past, where you're watching the pregame show and you have to stop, go out of the app, go back in,
Still
just
does
get to
that.
the game. It's still an issue, but you're right. It's still very early. Maybe there will be some changes in the future. I certainly hope so, because listen, I want it to work out. People want to watch Lightning games. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. I did notice they do have a new plan, by the way. You can buy like a season. There's the monthly, yearly, and then the season pass. I don't fully understand it. The pricing's a little bit different, but there is that out there. I actually just switched to the yearly plan now because I was paying monthly because I had hoped Bally was going to go away soon, and now they're here to stay. So I officially switched to the yearly. At least I save a little bit of money there. So.
I'd say there is a little bit of hope that they update the app, because if you're going through bankruptcy, the last thing you're going to do is spend more money on your platform. So maybe this will encourage them to improve it.
You would hope. One would certainly hope. I'll tell you one place where money is being very well spent, and that's with Tampa Bay Lightning right now. And Jeff Finnick doing an absolutely amazing job. He's a great owner. You guys thought I was going to do a transition to the
did.
sports.
Yeah.
Not yet. I got one. Don't worry. We'll get there eventually. But Jeff Finnick, who we have known that it was coming out that he is selling the team. In the process of it, then was made official that it was approved by the NHL. We've learned more about who these people are, and that when they came out, the two new owners donated $1 million to hurricane relief. But the biggest part of this news is that Jeff Finnick gave all of his full-time employees around $50,000 to $66,000 each. Come on, round of applause for Jeff Finnick. He is by far the best owner in sports. It's not even close to do something like that for your full-time, and it's no stipulation. As long as you're a full-time employee, doesn't matter how long, you're getting that bonus, which is just such a great thing for him to do. He's already making a ton of money, making money off this deal, and he goes and does that for his full-time employees. It's going to be a bummer to lose him. Now, again, I will reiterate too, this is a long process. It'll be about 3 years as this transition happens. And even after those 3 years, when the new owners take over, Vinnick is taking kind of a backseat role. He'll be on the board. Again, and JBB, he'll still run the day-to-day operations for right now. So this is a long process, but it will be a bummer to see him go when that day does come, because the amazing organization that he has built is truly one of a kind.
I want to say, like, what amazing philanthropist he's been for the community, but then also to, so many people live paycheck to paycheck, and while $50,000 isn't life-changing money, it definitely puts all those full-time employees in a much better, much more comfortable position at the end of the year, and that's something that, some people have to work 10, 20 years in order to get to a spot where they're not just looking for, for the next paycheck, and if something major happens, so they can squirrel away some money. And I mean, that's a really cool thing to do. And I can't think of another time where I've ever really seen that big of a bonus being paid out to the employees, especially when you think about really large corporations that have, like Facebook buying companies up. You don't see the owner then turning around and paying the employees for all the hard work that they've done.
Yeah, really the closest thing you see is like, giving, stock shares or something like that. And that doesn't cost you anything. It's, it is a kind gesture. You don't have to do it, but to give somebody, cold hard cash bonus. And, you said it's not life-changing money. It is to some of these people, getting what's, an average yearly salary to somebody just because you work for me. That's incredible. Again, the best owner in sports, that is absolutely it'd be life-changing to me for sure. That's for sure. But
Well, I
what
just mean
a
that
cool
they
thing.
can't retire, but it is
Yes.
a big deal.
It's not
Well,
generational money, but
think about the
it's
hurricane that just rolled through, and so
yeah.
many people, and I'm sure there's a lot of employees at the Lightning that were affected by these major hurricanes. And listen, even $5,000 would have been, I'm sure that they'd love to get that. So yeah, you're right. It's not life changing. Where like you're saying, Joe, you're not going to retire from it, but even still, I mean, just to even do something he doesn't have to do, but yet he does, because that's the kind of culture that Jeff Vinik has built. By the way, the two new owners' names. It's Doug and Mark are their first names. I need to learn their last names. I don't fully know
Stay
them
on a
yet.
first name basis. You're in the press box now,
Yeah, exactly.
big timing us over here.
What's up, Doug?
But Doug Ostrover and Mark Lipschultz, I believe is how you pronounce it. Again, I apologize if I didn't say that right. I've never heard their names officially said. So, but they are both from Blue Owl Capital. They are the co-CEOs. So hopefully, and you would expect when someone like Vinik sells the team, he knows who he's selling to. They're people that are going to continue these traditions that Vinik has started and the culture that he's built. And again, Vinik is staying on the board. I don't know for how long, but you would expect most of these things to stay the same. It shouldn't be a huge culture shock when Vinik does officially step back down. But that's for another 3 years. We got time to worry about that. We can look into the games.
So Dougie and Marky Mark, they're getting the majority ownership of the team, correct? Because I know there's still some other shares, elsewhere, right?
Yes, correct. That is my understanding. They are becoming the majority owners and the main two guys, while Vinik is stepping down into a minority owner.
So I guess that's a kind of cool thing too, that it's going to two people instead of one, because we see in plenty of other cases. First one that comes to mind is like Eugene Melnick in Ottawa a couple of years ago. If you got one bad owner and everything runs through him, it's a top-down pyramid. At least you got two different voices that can control everything essentially, and they can provide checks and balances with each other. It's not just one evil villain up at top, and I'm not saying these guys are going to be evil villains or anything, but it's always a possibility. So to have two people instead of one, I think that's a bit it's better than one person, I guess. I'm trying to find a silver lining to Vinik stepping down, and that's the best I could do.
Recent history with the Lightning shows that that's not always the case.
That's true.
I knew Joe right where I saw that smirk. I knew exactly where he was going with that. Yeah, last time we had two owners, it didn't work out the best, but yes.
I'm old enough to remember back when.
I'm not.
But hopefully you are correct, Matt, and that this will work
Usually
out that
am.
way. And these are two good owners. Listen, just because you got two owners doesn't mean you're going to have the same thing. Daniel here, by the way, says two owners can create different issues. Yes, but two owners can also create great ideas. So there is that too. As the saying goes, two heads are better than one. We'll see how it all plays out. Got some time before that. With that said, I say let's get into some of these games, guys, and talk. There's a lot going on this week.
We skipped one day, and we have 5 games to cover. That's insane.
There were a lot of games crammed into the 1 week, and then we were since a lot of us were at the game on Monday for Steven Stamkos' return, which we'll get into here very shortly. We pushed it back 1 day, and yes, we got a lot of games, so we'll kind of speed through some of the let's say forgettable ones, and then we'll have some more fun with some of the bigger.
We
games.
have 4 games to cover. I can't believe it.
4 games, right? So starting off against New Jersey. No, I'm kidding. We got to talk about it. Lightning versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. This was a big game because it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Built up a very big rivalry between these two teams. We don't like Toronto. Toronto doesn't like us. But Toronto really handed it to the Lightning in this game. Final score of 5-2. The Lightning tied the game 1-1 at the end of the first period, but then after that, it was basically all Toronto. Lightning get one late in the third period on the power play, but a game really Toronto just kind of controlled. And I don't know about you guys. I don't know what you take away specifically from this game. Also, it was a game, by the way, where this was the one, if I remember correctly, Vasilevsky got pulled. When have you ever seen that? Vasilevsky getting pulled. I mean, it almost kind of blew my mind when it happened. I'm not surprised. It was a rough game for him, but tough game. It's one you kind of just try to throw away.
Yeah, the surprising thing about him being pulled and not allowed to fight through is the fact that they had a back-to-back. So Johansson had to play the next night, even though he had a little over 28 minutes of ice time on this Monday. Chasing Vasilyev is something that we rarely see, mostly because he's not willing to give up the net. I was surprised that there was a pull here rather than just letting him fight through it. And another takeaway is that our power play was not good against Toronto. The entries were very, very difficult, and being able to sustain pressure was almost impossible.
We've seen that through the rest of the week too with the power play, but this game was a bit of an anomaly. I don't know anybody on the team that got up for this game. Nobody really seemed to care, including Vasilevsky. Starting at Vasilevsky, I don't want to say he was the worst guy on the ice, but he let some stinkers in. And I thought it was a good idea to pull him because he was not playing good at all, but nobody else was in front of him either. I'm not sure what it was. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock into this game, but it's just annoying. It's unfortunate that you can't get up for a divisional game, a pretty, hated rival in the Maple Leafs. I'm disappointed in the team, but at the same time, chalk it up as an early October loss, move on with it. We saw what they did, the next game against New Jersey, so I'm not too rattled about it and what happened the rest of the week, but still, something was in the air with this game. I'm not sure if guys were sick or what happened, just weren't excited to play on the road trip, but nobody was really looking good at all this game. The Nick Paul goal, was kind of an accidental goal. It was a good play by Paul, but it was the Simone Benoit that put it in for him. The Braden Point goal, I think. That was a pretty nice goal, but
it was a nice entry.
It was, but that was, you never saw any sustained good play from the Lightning. It was all just kind of everything from the outside. The Maple Leafs played really well, by the way, too. I got to give it to them, too. That was probably their best game that they've played all season, too. So, worst game played by one team, best game played by the other team. I'm surprised the score didn't look, worse than 5-2, but I don't know. Chalk this one up as an early October stinker and move on to the next one. That seems like what they did.
The Nick Paul goal, by the way, was hilarious in the fact that he went in, made a nice move, and then it deflected off a Toronto defender and into the net. That was a fun goal. And I mention it specifically because if you didn't notice, and Joe pointed this out to me and Matt just before, the NHL, get ready for this, NHL.com got an upgrade. It actually is really, really cool. If you go to the game center for one of the games and you're down in the summary section and you can see a goal simulation option. If you pop that tab down, it shows basically a AI kind of, there's little dots for the players. They got their numbers. It shows where they were going. It shows where the puck was too. It's really, really cool to kind of give you this overview of these goals. So if you're ever wondering what the heck are these guys talking about over here on RBLR, pop over to NHL.com and check that out. Thought we should throw that out there. Nice upgrade by NHL.com.
It is neat because it shows the movement. Sometimes the camera angles don't give you a full appreciation of what's happening on the ice, and here you get the bird's eye view, and you can really get a good idea of how a play broke down, where assignments could have been, and it'll definitely help me try to illustrate some stuff in the future too.
Yeah, excited to see where that goes. It's a nice upgrade. Matt, you mentioned the Lightning did bounce back, and they did indeed. Game got a little crazy out in New Jersey with goals galore. Final score, this one 8-5. The Lightning get the win, though, in the bounce back. And even though New Jersey did score a lot of goals, it felt like a game, especially after that second period when the Lightning went up 5-2, one that they pretty much controlled. And even though New Jersey clawed their way back toward the end of this game, the Lightning always did have a really good handle on this one. Power play in this one was good for the Lightning. They were 2 for 2. So it seemed like maybe you saw a little bit of positives out of the power play in this one. I will say I'm trying to give the power play a little bit of leeway here. They're trying lots of different things. It's so weird without Steven Stamkos. It's very different. They're still trying new things. In fact, in the Nashville game, or something I want to get touch on when we get to there, but they're still trying different things. Looked good tonight. Overall, maybe want to clean up the defense a little bit because they weren't able to lock that game down. But great offense, and they got through this one with a big win.
Let's talk about some of that great offense. I mean, it's probably stating the obvious, but we had two guys have standout games, one being Anthony Cirelli, who ended up with 4 assists, but then also overshadowing him a little bit. Hagel only had 1 assist on the night, but he had his hat trick, a natural hat trick. great game to really. I mean, that's what sealed it for the Lightning was the second period that Brandon Hagel had.
And this game wasn't perfect by any stretch. I'm not trying to, be negative on an 8-5 loss, but there were still some issues that they were ironing out from that Leafs game. The defense was still not up to par, despite 3 goals coming from defensemen. There was still a lot of, gaps missed, weak in front of the net, and all that. But I'm not going to, harp on that for too long because it was still a very, very entertaining game, at least as a Lightning fan. A lot of the goals that did go in against Jake Allen. Not that they were lucky. They're all very nice and well placed. Well, one was really lucky, the Moser goal. But I thought Allen had a really weak night in net as well. And just all of New Jersey, they kind of crumbled, heading into that second period. That's where the wheels really started to fall off the bus for New Jersey. But a very entertaining game at the end of the day. And, what a show from Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel. And Connor Geekie, who he got his first point in this game, correct? Or I think that's when they put that line together, the Geekie Hagel Cirelli line.
Yeah, he got his assist on the Hagel goal, and Hagel immediately went and retrieved the puck for him.
And I'm
Hagel
a big fan of that line.
Did.
Yeah.
But that line they've put together, it's really something special. As we'll see in some of the other games, the 3 other games you have to talk about. But things really started to come together on this road trip in this game, but still ironing out some issues that seemed to subside in the later games.
Goal of the game, by the way, in this one was J.J. Moser, shorthanded goal where he shot it off the boards just to really dump it in, and Allen went to go play the puck, and look, it took a weird bounce off the boards, and it's in the back of the net. That was a fun one for sure, and J.J. Moser, who I want to talk about later too as well, gets a big goal for himself there. So yeah, great game offensively, maybe some issues defensively, but overall nice to get the win, especially after that tough game in Toronto that you just had on the back-to-back. Moving to the next game, this is the first one back home against the Minnesota Wild. First time I was up there in the press box watching this one from a different view. This was another tough game. The Lightning, little inconsistent this week, kind of back and forth. You never knew what you were quite going to get. Lightning lose to the Wild in this one by a final score of 4-2. And it's a game you felt like the Lightning probably should have had. They were up 2-1 in this game midway through the second period until Minnesota goes on to score 3 straight goals, one being an empty net, to secure the 4-2 win. But defense for me was the story of this game. They're still not having consistent defense, I guess is the word. You're still seeing a lot of those same issues last year where there's these defensive lapses and it's like, what happened there? And that was a big issue for them in this game.
The defense was the story of the game for me, but to me, it was Minnesota's defense. I thought, I hate to say this about, I said it about the Leafs, they played really well, but Minnesota, they played really well. I thought they took advantage of a lot of, the Lightning's shortcomings. And once they took the lead, they really parked the bus. Even when the game was tied at 2-2, Minnesota parked the bus. They were not letting the Lightning, enter at all. They were just stuffing that neutral zone and even keeping us in our own zone. It was a really, really good defensive masterclass by Minnesota, and they've played really, really well so far to start the season too. But you'd like to see more. You'd like to, respond or not respond, but you just came off an 8-goal game. You'd like to see a little bit more than just 2. But again, it was a really good game from Minnesota. Defense was better than what it had been in the last 2 games, but still some issues. And I'm not saying, they're going to make a perfect transition in the, I guess this was back at home. But they're not going to transition perfectly back to a rock solid defense. Like, again, we'll see later on in this week. But Minnesota, I thought that was the reason we lost this game is because they played really well. You'd like to see more, but I have to give credit where it's due. They put on a defensive showing.
Matt giving credit to Minnesota's defense. That seems
I wonder why.
I wonder why he's doing that.
Well, I mean, they did have 19 blocked shots for Minnesota, and then the Lightning still had 26 shots on, which isn't, you look kind of for 30, right? That's what you end up having an average. So, I mean, it just wasn't – they were doing a good job, Minnesota was, of getting in lanes and preventing the higher quality scoring chances. And it definitely felt like a game where, for the majority of it, the Lightning had momentum and just couldn't quite put the puck in the back of the net to secure a win. But, I guess that former Lightning player curse is, comes back again for Bogo getting his assist and the
It always
Lightning
does.
not being able to put it away. Again, to bring up our second line though, with Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli combining for shorthanded goal on their penalty kill has always been really good with them as a tandem, and now it's, when they're out there, there's almost like never any panic when it comes to a kill, and they're such a big threat offensively, even shorthanded, that this combination is doing really well. And I've been so critical of Cirelli for the last year that it's good to see him start playing a lot better offensively too, because that's something that the team desperately needed, a center on the second line that can start to put up points, where Cirelli before really wasn't having it.
Marc-Andre Fleury made a lot of big saves in this game too that kept Minnesota in there, and that kind of goes along with the defense, as you were mentioning, Matt. They did play a great game. Second line was great, Joe. I'm right there with the first and second line. I think both of them have been, for the most part, really good. And it's kind of what we expected a little bit. The question was, that bottom six, that's the one part that they've been working on a little bit. We were a little worried about the last player in the top six and replacing Stamkos, but it seems like the top six has been the best part of this offense. They continue to play well. I do want to mention JJ Moser in this game. He's had a couple iffy games, but like a game like tonight, I thought he looked fantastic. It kind of gets overshadowed in the loss. But Moser played really good, made some really great defensive plays. This was the game he had a really nice 3-on-1 that he defended super well. So overall, I've been very impressed with JJ Moser. And at just 24 years old, he's the guy who's playing with Victor Hedman, can still learn a lot and continue to grow, but really like what I've seen from the young defenseman right now playing on the top pair of Victor Hedman.
It should also be noted that he was not out there for a goal against, and he definitely. I remember there's one play that he backchecked. Maybe it was a 3-on-1 where he backchecked crazy hard to break up one of the plays. He skates really well, and another, getting Moser in that trade and having Geeky. I mean, it's a little early to say that we came out way ahead, but as of right now, these pieces are paying off exactly like we had hoped.
Yeah, this could go down, and I think I was saying this last week, as a very rare win-win deal. I think we were, talking about how good Moser was the week prior, and he's been pretty good so far. One thing I am iffy of, though, is the Hedman-Moser pairing. I don't know if you guys are a fan of it at all. I'd like to see them try, maybe some different pairings, especially early in the year. Seems like they're really sticking with 77 and 90 together, but I have seen some issues because both of those guys like to roam around the ice. I'd say they're both offense first defensemen, and that's kind of hard to sustain, two offensive minded defensemen on the same pairing. So I'd like to see them maybe switch it up a bit, but they seem pretty rock solid on keeping them together. But I don't know. What is your guys' opinion on that pair? Because it has its flashes.
Maybe they're still getting used to each other. I'm more concerned when it comes to Lilleberg and Perbix right now, to be honest, which they're getting limited ice time because they're the third pairing, but maybe, give them a little bit of time to see if they can work out some of those bugs in their play together. And if not, you still could bring Perbix back up.
I'm happy with it. I think they look good.
I've liked how Perbix has brought his game back. He had a rough week last week, and it seems like he's really started to perform a lot better, especially with the benching of Darren Radish. Perbix has improved his game a good bit, especially in this Minnesota game. He was locking down pretty good as well. But Lilleberg, yeah, he's kind of Perbix of 2 years ago, it seems, or Perbix of last year, when you come onto the scene, you're a great shutdown defenseman, and then he's just kind of having his sophomore slump. So I'm not sure what the deal is with Lilleberg right now. He was, on the ice for a pretty rough goal against in that Nashville game too. So that's a completely, other topic we might hit on.
They're young defensemen, and we're still seeing that learning curve type of thing with some of them, and that's to be expected. But as long as they can improve throughout the season and over the years, then that's all you can really ask for. And they're not having bad games every single night. The Lightning would then welcome the Washington Capitals to Amalie Arena, and what was their Halloween night that they had for this game. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to the entire Lightning crew of all the people working there. So many people had costumes on. They had a bunch of fun jokes. Like Paul Porter was Paul Potter for Harry Potter. J.P. Peterson was a bit on Ron Burgundy. There were a lot of fun things. Every Lightning employee, or most of them anyway, were dressed up in a costume. Greg Wolf was Greg Wolfman, and he had a nice wolf costume on. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool to see for Halloween.
I saw Jake wearing an Ovechkin jersey for his costume.
You absolutely did not. That is blasphemy. And Ovechkin must have been scared out of the building because he was nowhere to be found with the rest of the Caps offense. The Lightning get a 3-0 shutout against Washington in this one. This was the Andre Vasilevsky show. We mentioned earlier he got pulled against Toronto. There's been some games where he's looked a little iffy, but this was vintage Vasilevsky in this game. Lightning played fantastic, controlled it. They didn't get their other 2 goals until the third period. It was a 1-0 game for a while there, but they get the job done in a big 3-0 shutout win. Again, a much needed one after a loss to Minnesota. The team really bounced back well, something they've done for a long time. They've always done a good job at bouncing back. They did it again tonight.
Against the most prolific scorer of our generation. And, the Capitals had 32 shots on goal. That's a well-earned shutout. He definitely had to fight his way through it. And it's a statement bounce back game in a sense from what we saw in Toronto. This was a game showing Vasi doing Vasi things, because those weren't all easy saves by any means.
And this is kind of cheating too, but it was the best game that the defense has played all year that I thought. They really limited Washington's chances and kept everything to the outside and really wouldn't let them establish much in the zone. There was a breakaway in the first period and, a couple of scary chances too, but thank God we had, prime Vasilevsky back there to bail them out. And I'm not saying the defense was perfect, but, it takes 2 to tango. A shutout doesn't come easy, but when you have defense helping you like that, it came together for a really nice, 3-0 win. It was a really complete game by everybody. I'd like to see the offense, step up a little bit more. But again, 3 goals, that should win you a game, especially, in a shutout too. But I thought it was, the most complete game that the defense has played so far.
What do you mean you want the offense to step up a little more? We had Shafee scoring his first goal of the season and Geeky scoring the first goal of his career. You have 2 players that haven't done it before, stepping up and getting some points on the board. Paul with an assist, Eyssimont with an assist, and of course it was Cirelli and Hagel to help out the Geeky effort. But I mean, that's that's exciting to see, scoring from a third line, and then somebody that was just brought in on a second line where it was so anemic last year. I'm really actually happy with the non-top line scoring effort in this one.
Loud ovation for Connor Geeky, by the way, when they announced his first NHL career goal. So that was really fun to see as well.
I'm just saying, I thought they could have sustained pressure with how well the other 2 parts of the team were playing. That it was coming in waves. Again, not a perfect game by the offense, but again, I might be spoiled by an 8-goal game, a couple days prior. So
I'm just busting on you a little bit too.
Forgive me,
because I mean, It is really cool to see Geeky get his first goal.
Michael's more excited about Big Dog Chafee.
He is a big Mitchell Chafee fan. There's no question about that. Actually, that Mitchell Chafee goal, listen, not to take away from Mitchell Chafee, I thought he's played great, but I'm surprised they called that a Mitchell Chafee goal. It was Nick Paul who took the shot. I didn't think the puck got deflected. Now, granted, I'm all the way up top, and I was watching this on a replay, but I was a little surprised they changed that one to Chafee's goal, but it hasn't changed.
He's the one that hit it in, though.
It's sticking. I didn't think the puck really deflected when I watched it on replay. I could be crazy, but when I watched replay, I didn't think it did. Nonetheless, though, good game by the bottom 6. Really step up and help out when the top 6 wasn't really to get their chances. Matt, you mentioned the defense. I'm right there with you. We talked to Andre Vasilevsky after the game in this one, and he talked about how his defense was a big help. They were able to make some big plays so he could see that puck, and that's a big part of being able to make those saves. There were some still tough ones, and Vasilevsky was up to the task. But, when he's not completely dried out, it definitely helps out a lot. And then he can really focus on making those big saves when it matters most. So that was a great game by Vasilevsky, a pretty good game by the defense. Overall, just really nice for the Lightning to pick up that 3-0 win. Daniel here, by the way, says the recent tweak to move Geeky to the second line and putting Paul with Chafee and Eyssimont together looked really good. Yeah. Listen, I've been happy with the line and the way they've looked for the most part. Not too many complaints. Maybe that 4th line is a little non-existent, but it is the 4th line, so you don't expect as much from them. They're kind of
they're not an issue though. Like, I
No,
think they're
no.
doing their job really well, despite not really scoring.
What's JBB doing? He's not making anyone on the team a real target for this podcast anymore. Sherry's like not playing on the team anymore. We don't have to worry about any of the other guys like Maroon, who's getting slow, Belmar, who's getting slow.
Radish is scratched.
Well, yeah. Well, at least for one game.
We'll see. Listen, there's been a lot of scouts at Lightning games the last couple of days. So, and JBB was out at a different game. I can't remember what game he was at, but it just kind of feel like maybe the Lightning are feeling some things out early in the season. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. But something maybe to keep an eye on a little bit. The big game that we do have to talk about, it's the most emotional game of them all, as Steven Stamkos returned to Tampa Bay for the first time since signing with Nashville. And holy cow, this was a crazy game. It was a fun game. The Lightning come away with the win. A final score of 3-2 in overtime. But let's focus on the tribute first. I think we have to start there. Obviously, Steven Stamkos been with the Lightning for 16 years. And all the accomplishments that he had, such an amazing player for the Lightning. It was tough to see him go. All of the, drama, I guess, if you want to call it, with him leaving. But back in Tampa, the Lightning did an amazing job with the video tribute. I thought it was really good. ESPN totally dropped the ball on their coverage, but who's surprised? The Lightning did post it on their social media. If you missed it, by the way, you can go check it out there. Really well done. And then the ovation from the Lightning faithful, I thought was absolutely fantastic. One of the loudest I've ever heard by far. And then the Steven Stamkos chant as well that happened after the fact.
You could hear that clearly, right, Matt? The Steven Stamkos chant. Did that come through the broadcast?
Oh yeah. Who cried?
I was darn close. I thought I was going. I was trying to keep it professional.
No emotion in the press box, sir.
Hey, listen. I'll be the first to admit I broke that rule a couple of times already. Like in the Washington game, I may have given a half fist bump and then realized, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to do that. Pull it back. Don't do anything. But yes, no.
Scratching my elbow.
Yeah.
See,
My bad.
I wasn't, held to limit my emotions. I'll admit, man, I was tearing up. Like I was staying composed for a good bit. And then towards the end of it, man, despite not being able to see it, thanks to ESPN, it was incredible, man. What a tribute. A lot of people are saying that it wasn't that great of a tribute or something. I don't care. Just seeing him out there giving the salute to the crowd. It was awesome. And then, compose myself, plays back in action. And then they started the Stamkos chant. I was like, oh man, here it comes again. It was a really cool moment. It sucks, having him gone. I don't know if you guys noticed the My GM sucks girl on the glass. I thought that was funny. She had a shirt that said My GM sucks. It's funny, but again, it was a great tribute. I'm jealous of you both for being there, but I'm glad you guys got to experience that firsthand.
It was neat. There's been tributes in the past. When Vinny had his tribute, he stayed on the bench, waved to the crowd, but that was always kind of the way that it had been done up to that point. It was a lot more stoic. Marty was the first person I ever remember getting a tribute and actually kind of like skating around a little bit for his. Stamkos basically went to the 4 points on the blue on each blue line, making it felt like eye contact with every single person that was inside the arena, and that was a part that felt more emotional to me than the actual tribute video. Was the time he spent looking around and really drawing in, taking in all these people that were, basically honoring him for even though he's moved on to another team.
There were a lot of Stamkos jerseys out there, a lot of shirts. The crowd gave him a cheer on both of his assists as well, which I thought was kind of cool. Joe, it's funny you mentioned him coming out. It's not kind of the traditional way. A reporter, I don't know who it was. I think it was more of a national reporter, mentioned that and asked him about, him taking the lap, and Stamkos kind of jokingly pushed back. And he said, well, you must have not really seen Tampa Bay tributes. And, kind of saying that that's kind of the norm for the Lightning, and a lot of those players waving and kind of going out for a little bit. I think he definitely went out longer than most players do. But he kind of pushed back on that fact that he says that's kind of the norm for Lightning players when they return, because they had a lot of them during those cup years.
Yeah, and it makes sense, like even if Marty did it to kind of set a trend, let's say. And I mean, that core group was together through so much and for so long, and playing your entire career. It is kind of a dumb comment from a reporter. I didn't watch that full interview. I heard that there was more than one comment on there that kind of pushed on him with it.
There was a little bit of that.
I kind of wanted to, he did get 2 assists in this game, and the ovation for the assist on an opposing team is crazy. But I've
never heard that before. I've never heard them cheer for another player like that.
And he had some really good chances, especially later in the game on the power play and like in the dying couple minutes of the game. He had some really good chances. He did. He looked really good.
Vasi beat him on, got over for one of his one-timers. I thought I was on that side of the ice. I thought for sure that one was going to go in, and he got over.
You noticed too that after that play, Stamkos gave Vasi a tap on the back, and then Vasi tapped him back. Because they had joked during media day that Vasi told Stamkos that when he scores on me to give him a tap, but this was the reverse with Vasi making the save on Stamkos.
He said not if, but when he scores on me, which I really like. But
it wasn't tonight.
Not that I wanted, Nashville to score, especially at the hands of Steven Stamkos, but I'd love to hear the reaction to a Stamkos goal. If that's what he got for those assists, I wonder what it would be for a goal.
It'd be
the most confused goal against ever.
Yeah.
Especially a one-timer.
When Vasi was saving all these shots, I was like, dang it. Like, I was genuinely cheering for a Stamkos. He's not even on my fantasy team. Like, I just wanted to see it happen.
It was definitely conflicting. It was funny too when they're announcing those goals. You get the general boos as they're coming out, as Lightning fans always do, and then they say Stamkos, and it just switches to cheers. It was interesting. I think it was cool that they did it. And at the time, the first one, it was 2-1. It was only 2-2. I think if Nashville was winning, I think that would have changed a little bit, and the Lightning and winning that game in overtime got a little close there, but maybe that has something a little bit to do with it. Yeah. But
I'd say let's talk about the game a bit, because it was almost like a tale of 2 games. That first period was one game, and then after that, it completely changed the way it felt. I do want to point out Braden Point and Chafee both looked awesome leading up to their goals. Like, Braden Point did some move coming down the left side, and I think it went like between his legs or something, and almost scored. He was so close, and he was coming out the gate flying. It was noticeable. So when he did finally put one in, looks like it was 9 minutes and 49 seconds into the first period. Of course, it was a dazzling goal, and
great toe drag.
It was amazing, and leading up to it, you could feel that. I felt the same thing for Chafee too, who looked like he had a couple of really good looks, was skating really, really hard in that first period, and then found pay dirt late in that period.
Yeah, Braden Point, he was really feeling himself this game, like you were saying. What a goal. I think that's, the obvious goal of the year candidate so far for the Lightning, at least, maybe of all teams. But Nick Paul also feeling himself throughout a lot of this game. He had a between the legs semi-breakaway chance early in this game. He does get the eventual game winner, but I thought it was a really entertaining game, despite it not being, utter domination by the Lightning, and you relinquish a 2-goal lead. Lilleberg, or really just the entire D-core, the whole team in these second period line changes are really starting to get to me. It's an issue that we saw, start to take form last year, and it really has carried itself over, and it caused a goal against late in the second period. Joe, I have a question as the resident hockey player on this podcast. Why do players just lazily skate to the bench for a line change, especially in the second period? Like, I know I sound like a broken record asking this. Everybody asks this, but why does nobody hustle for a line change?
Well, you are skating. There's a couple of reasons I could point out. You're skating about 30 feet further for one. So to pump your legs, even though it seems like it's only 30 feet, you're going to get a little bit more tired getting over there to the bench, and you probably already had an extended shift because it is harder to make a line change. So in general, it's tougher to do changes in the second period. The other thing to it is the ability for the other players to get on the ice. It's recognizing that their change is coming and they need to jump over the boards and get into the play. Again, they're going to have about 30 feet more to actually be back into their own defensive zone. So it just ends up being a great opportunity to do a transitional play if the other team's changing. And unfortunately, it seems like the Lightning go for wholesale changes in these cases where you got all 5 players at the bench, which causes congestion, causes a little bit of confusion. It can, at least, not always, but it can. But it ends up looking really, really bad because as everybody's getting onto the ice, you start to establish who the closest person that your responsibility is. And if you're already behind the play, it obviously makes for a really, really ugly change. One thing you can do if it's in the first or second period is change behind the play. Technically, as the puck's going into your towards your offensive zone, you can get to the bench, and the player that's jumping on for you can already technically be in the defensive zone. He can jump on the ice 20 feet ahead of the play. You don't get that opportunity in the second.
That was actually a really perfect answer. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. Thank you.
They just lose track of what period is and forget which bench to go to. Back to you.
It was a tough line change, and that's something that can be cleaned up, which is the good news out of that one. If you look at the goal simulation, actually, it's Lilleberg and Cirelli who are the 2 late ones. It almost feels like they weren't expecting the line change, and then they made this. You know how when you're going through a yellow light, they say you can't hesitate. That's when you get into trouble. It seems like Lilleberg and Cirelli hesitated a little bit. Then they decided to go for a line change, and they get caught behind, and Nashville's got an easy breakaway to get that goal. That was the theme, though, kind of for the Lightning in that second period. The second period was not a good one. You had the bad line change, which led to the tying goal late in the period, too. And then you had the power play goal, which came after the second J.J. Moser penalty. Moser did not have a great game against Nashville, took 2 back-to-back penalties. Little stuff you want to clean up.
2 high sticking penalties, too.
What's that?
2 high sticking penalties, too.
Yes.
You'd think you'd keep it down after the first one. I get it's accidental, but still.
Right. But, that's stuff that can be cleaned out. The Lightning did come back in the third and look good. Saros just made a lot of big saves in this game. They're finally able to capitalize in the third period. Comment here, by the way, from Daniel again. Daniel, we appreciate you jumping in all the time. Gensel with another big game. Yeah, he had the 2 assists.
Especially the second assist there.
The second assist was huge, no question about it, with it being the game-winning goal in overtime.
And he had an assist taken away on the goal that was offsides too.
That's right. There also was. I forgot about that goal. The Lightning were supposed to go up 3-0, and it got called back for offsides.
That was I think the defining moment of the tale of 2 games. As soon as that Kucherov, if that did count, that was one of those goals where Kucherov was so open. And Soros was so locked into the person that had the puck with Gensel that faked the shot that he just kind of he didn't even shoot. He pushed it to the back of the net. But as soon as that came back, it went from a 3-goal lead to all the momentum switched over to Nashville. And I'm pretty sure that's when one of the penalties were taken right after that in order to give even more momentum towards Nashville that they scored on that one.
You knew it was going to get called.
They scored on that one. Yeah.
You knew it was going to get called back when the Lightning weren't showing the replay to the fans. I had to look up at the TVs that are up in the press box to see the replay. And I do think it was the right call. It was close. I know the rule kind of gets a little weird when you're dragging your foot late in the pucks. You're kind of moving in with the puck. I do think it was the right call. But yeah, Nashville definitely picked up some momentum for that. No question.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was the right call. It confused the ESPN crew, or specifically Ray Ferraro. He was like, "Nope, that looks good to me. I don't know what's wrong with it." And I was like, "I don't know, man. If I'm I don't know, I think it's offsides."
ESPN got it wrong. No.
What? Think about it. I actually haven't even seen a replay of it. I'm gonna try doing a little game recap right now just to see it since I was live and they didn't show it really in the stadium.
Daniel says here, by the way, teams not allowed to show replays in arena. They get fined by the league if they do. Is that true?
No.
I feel like the Lightning have shown replays all the time
Yeah.
before it comes. Maybe they got to wait.
Maybe it's
and
they
just
do
get
it
the
after
clear.
the ruling.
After the no, because
No, it's usually
all the
during.
time they're playing, let it be, if it's a goal for the Lightning.
But that doesn't
and
mean they're
once,
showing it, right?
well, but once they
No,
show the
they've shown it.
replay and it's a clearly onside goal or whatever it is, you hear the arena go, oh, like they're cheering or booing for whatever it is. Is that
It's for challenge plays. To be honest with you, I can't remember when they've shown replays. It's for challenge. That's interesting. I didn't know that. If that's, I feel like there's always been replays. I don't have something maybe to look into. Maybe I'll ask some of my friends in the press box. No, I'm kidding. I'm not
Mandela effect? Humble flex.
I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. But luckily I was able to look up and they were shown on ESPN. And it did look like the right call at the end of the day, but interesting. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll have to look into it. But
the recap, I don't know that it's. Oh, there goes the replay. They show the goal like 4 times after they show that it was no goal. Then they actually show the highlight of it. That's kind of weird the way that just went through. But yeah, I mean that's exactly the same call that we've been seeing consistently, right? Like if you pull the puck over the line without having possession of it, and that's what that one looks like to me. So I think that they got that one right too.
Sorry for disappearing for a sec. My dog just unplugged my router, so thankfully I'm on my iPad.
Unplug your router?
Yeah,
Morgan alert.
It's just down on the. Yeah. So thankfully I'm on my iPad. So if my internet gets crappy, let me know.
Well, Lightning at the end of the day, a little bit inconsistent throughout the week, but it happens. They had some good games. They had some bad games. The good news, if you need something that's not inconsistent and is always looking good, I got the place for you to go. That is shop.rblrsports.com. I told you guys I'd get there. Don't you worry. You can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order, to check out the awesome team-inspired merch, Lightning, Rowdies, Bucks, all the stuff. Go check it out, and we can get you guys hooked up with some awesome new merch. Don't forget to use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order, and the link is always in the description as well. All right, so Lightning back and forth for a little bit on this week, but we do need to talk about some of the 3 stars for this week. Getting back to that, 3 stars of the week. Starting off with our number 3 star, and it is none other than Anthony Cirelli, who gets the number 3 star. Cirelli had a really great week, no goals, but 6 assists for 6 total points and was a +1.
I am really happy that he's getting off to such a great start on this season. Already up to 10 points in 9 games, and he's clicking with Hagel and with Geeky. Having a 4-point game is great, especially because he's such a defensive-minded player. Being plus 2 on the in all these games. That's still a great thing to see that the team in general is like cleaning up a lot of their defensive goals against from last season, and yeah, just hope he keeps on rocking, put some more in the net.
Yeah, these numbers may not be sustainable, but that's a problem for another day. As far as this week goes, he was an awesome, incredible player. So casually leads the team in assists, if I'm not mistaken, and just, a huge part of this, what's turning out to be a monster second line. So hopefully, him, Hagel, and Geeky can keep meshing together and, providing some excellent offense and even better defense, from a forward group. So what a week by Anthony Cirelli.
Yeah, fantastic job by him. He's a well-deserved number 3 star. There are a lot of guys that could have been on this list. Number 2 star for this week is none other than Braden Point. And man, this guy continues to impress. He almost gets overshadowed by Kucherov. We always talk about how this is Kucherov 3 stars because he's always having a fantastic week. Point's pretty close up there as well. Braden Point, 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points, and was a +2. He had the fantastic toe drag goal that we mentioned earlier. Another great week from Braden Point. He has really been fantastic to start the year.
I'd say that he started off slow last season. That was coming off of his first 50-goal campaign. This season, it looks like he's coming out flying, and it's there's nothing like a fast Braden Point when he's out there making moves like he's doing. He's such a dynamic and tough player, and that goal really highlights how good he can be when he's got the puck in his hands.
And it's not the easiest thing in the world to walk Roman Yossi. He's one of the best defensemen in the world. He's not all offense either. He's a really good defensive defenseman as well. He gets overshadowed too, and he really put everybody on a platter on that one play. But he's been, the epitome of consistency, for his entire career. He's always a lock for, goals in front of the net, and he just continues and proves to be objectively the most underrated player in the NHL. You can argue a wall about it, but man, he is just, he's so speedy, and that's not even, his best tools. He's becoming a great net front player and just has, he can stick handle in a phone booth. Just another fantastic week, and he's just continuing right where he left off. Hopefully we got another 50-goal run from Braden Point as well.
Quick math, that's exactly what I was going to say. Quick math puts him on pace for 54 goals.
Ooh, man, that would be fantastic if he can keep that up once again. He's been so good over the last couple of years. And of course, our number one star is none other than Nikita. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Nikita Kucherov this week. It's Brandon Hagel. Man, what a week for Brandon Hagel. Not only was he so great with the energy that he brings off, getting Geeky his first goal puck and his first point puck as well, but 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points, and was a +4 this week. So Brandon Hagel really showing off. He had a fantastic week. He has been, I think he is up there for best trade ever done by JBP. I mean, I have absolutely loved Brandon Hagel. I'm a big fan of his, as you guys know. But he looked great again this week.
I don't know much more we can really talk about him. He's killing penalties, getting in on some shorthanded plays. He's out there lighting the lamp along with Cirelli, getting a natural hat trick. I mean, this has been a really exciting start to our second line.
I think we might have lost Matt for a second there. Morgan unplugged his internet again.
All right, going back with on pace fours. He has 6 goals as well, so he's on pace for 54 goals, just like Braden Point.
Hey, there you go, Matt. I think you're back.
I think I am too. We'll see. But can you believe that we have this guy for another 7 3/4 years on our hands at a really nice number? He continues to just get better every year. Hopefully the goal scoring, just like Anthony Cirelli's assist, can stay consistent. But again, just piggybacking off of what I said about Cirelli, if this line can continue to dominate and hopefully Geeky can continue to develop and gel well with his line mates, we've got a problem on our hands, or the league's got a problem on their hands. Again, having him for another, 8 years at a great number. If he can, maybe pot 40, you said Brandon Hagel's a 30-goal scorer, but we might have a 40-goal scorer on our hands too if he just, stays on this pace. Might not happen, probably won't happen, but man,
with all the trash I've talked about Cirelli, too, if it comes through majority of Cirelli assists, how awesome would that be?
That'd be crazy.
Great. We always love when we're talking trash about somebody and they come through in a big way. Future captain Brandon Hagel, though, gets the number 1 star this week, along with point number 2 and Cirelli number 3. There were a lot of players that had some big weeks when it comes to points and plus minuses, but those are our 3 stars. Let us know in the comments down below if you agree. If you would have a different list, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Quick question here from Brian, by the way, asking if Gensel has been back to Pittsburgh for a tribute. He has. When he was with Carolina, he was quickly in Pittsburgh for 1 game. So he has been there once. I don't remember the tribute. I wasn't really paying attention to that, but he has been back in Pittsburgh to answer that question. All right, looking ahead for the Lightning here now for the next couple of games. They're on a 4-game road trip, which is going to start in Colorado on October 30th. Then they will continue the road trip by heading to Minnesota, Winnipeg, and St. Louis. We'll be back before the St. Louis show. We should go back to our regular scheduled programming on Mondays. So the next 3 games, though, they're coming up for you. The big one, I would say, is Winnipeg, as Winnipeg has been on a roll. They did lose their first game yesterday against Toronto, but still been one of the best teams in the NHL by far so far.
They've been on an absolute heater. What's surprising to me is with how many points that the Avs have been able to put up. They're not really winning as many games as you would expect. I mean, you've got, in terms of points, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, and goals scored. You also actually have former Bolt Ross Colton on the leaders list. So that could be, a team that we on paper should be able to beat. But if our defense doesn't stand strong, that'll be a tough matchup for them. Man, Ross Colton having 8 goals on the season. He's tied with Nikita Kucherov. He's got one hell of a one-timer.
Colton is injured, correct?
He was for a game. He's back.
He's back now? Okay, I thought I saw
I think
him being injured. My apologies.
I think he may have even scored if they played last night.
He did, I think.
Okay. He did not score in that game, though. He scored on the Sunday game, it looks like, that he played. But at any rate, he's scoring a lot of goals, and, he's for all accounts, he's having a good time out there. I just hope that when we go out and play him, he doesn't have a great night.
I hope not. We're going to prove why the Colorado Avalanche got a lifetime achievement award in Nathan McKinnon's Hart Trophy. Kucherov is going to have a great game this game, I pray.
For those that don't know, our producer Eureka is a Colorado fan, so we're giving him a hard time a little bit for that. It should be a fun one. Maybe we'll have some fun with that. By the way, I did look up quickly. I don't know if he re-injured, but I believe Ross Colton is injured again, and they said he was going to miss some significant time. I don't know what that means. That story of a couple hours ago as well. So I don't know if he's playing against Tampa, but he has been big for Colorado. But that's a big loss for them if he's been that good. And they're going to miss him for that game.
Did Ross Colton get a tribute?
With the Lightning, yes.
He came back. He did? Okay. Interesting.
Yes, he did. They gave tributes to pretty much anybody. I think that was, because the Stanley Cup teams.
Anyone that was on the Stanley Cup team, I'm pretty sure they did.
We talked about it when Bogosian came back. We're like, is Bogosian going to get one? I don't know. But he did. He did. They gave one to.
He's also going to get a statue.
Bogosian statue at your house, right?
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, guys, that's going to pretty much do it for us in this episode. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in once again here live. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes. We hope you guys come back next week to talk some awesome Lightning hockey. It's been a lot of fun. We'll talk to you guys next time. The Wolves.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.